My name is Allison Heaney, Vice President of Learning and Public Programs, and I want to welcome you today, Wednesday, July 26, 2023, to this edition of MOLAA Zoom Project, in conversation with the artist Andrey, where MOLAA Chief Curator Gabriel Ortiaga will discuss with the artist his work and career. MOLAA acknowledges the support of the Genesis Inspiration Foundation, the Miller Foundation, the Dwight Stewart Youth Fund, and the Arts Council for Long Beach for their constant support of the educational initiatives at the Museum of Latin American Art. And a special thank you to the California Arts Council Exposure Grant. Each chapter of the MOLAA Zoom Project features a conversation between the most remarkable Latin American and Latinx artists from across the US and the worldwide, and our MOLAA Chief Curator. Together, we focus on a series of specific artworks which require close inspection, a deliberate process of contemplation and exploration, delving into the ideas surrounding the creation of works, their sources of research and inspiration, in an effort to immerse ourselves in the world of the artist. In Chapter 35, MOLAA Zoom Project, we are joined by multidisciplinary artist Andrey Zignnatto, known for his exploration of space and creation through his large-scale sculptures and installations. Born in São Paulo, he's a self-taught artist, teacher, and activist, part of the indigenous communities Dofurêm, Guaianá, and Guarani, Bia. He worked as a bricklayer with his grandfather between the ages of 10 and 14, and these affective ancestral memories are the foundation for the conceptual development and the methods he used in his artistic production. Connecting art and life, Zignnatto invites the observer to reflect on the unstable and dynamic relation that the human being establishes with their surrounding. His work promotes a synthesis of the struggle between traditional and contemporaneity and its effects on society and local culture. Themes in Zignnatto's production include equalizing forces between the urban and indigenous universes, diasporas, colonization policies, and reviewing the history of art and some of its movements. His work has shown both solo and collective exhibitions in galleries and museums throughout Brazil, the US, Colombia, UK, France, Italy, Spain, Peru, Mexico, and the United Arab Emirates. Since 2002, he has led artistic humanitarian projects in Brazil, Angola, Cuba, Syria, Lebanon, and with individuals who live in extreme and vulnerable social situations. As we begin this presentation, we encourage you to share your questions and feedback using the chat feature and Q&A below. We'll be sure to host a live Q&A session at the end. And with that, I'm very excited to welcome our Chief Curator, Gabriela Ortiaga, and Andrey Zignnatto. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Allison, for the presentation and all the MOLAA team. Hello, everyone, and welcome to MOLAA. Bienvenidos a MOLAA. Bom dia, Andrey. Tudo bem? How are you?
Anakuran, Gabriela. Anakuran for everybody. Anakuran is good morning in my native language. Iche chambra raun for Uramaito, São Paulo. Totando Dofurêm, Guaianá. I usually present myself at first in my native language because it's a way to keep strong with to keep my culture alive. I said that my name, my indigenous name is Chambra Raunfor. I am our community is the original native nation in São Paulo. We always live in São Paulo before the colonization also. And by my mother, I am Guarani Bia. It's another native group. And I want to start my talk, say for everybody, thank you to spend a little bit of your time with us here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for your time today. And Andrey, we are very interested in your creative process, and because you are a unique artist who has the opportunity to grow around a native Brazilian community and develop your practice in different contexts, we would like to know more about your beginnings as a multidisciplinary artist and why it's so important for your work to be an artist living and working in South America, in Sao Paulo, in connection with the Guarani community?
So for me, I started to work with art using my experience as a bricklayer when I worked with my grandfather, and my knowledge about our native culture. I never studied art in a university or an arts school. I always studied by myself. I try to learn about art by myself. And it's interesting because in the contemporary cities, societies, we have a kind of very different kind of cultures. If you see our native societies, because in contemporary societies, we build our relationships by social contracts. You are not a neighbor, you don't have your neighbors because you have affective relationship with them. You have your neighbors because you have a social contract. We have constitution, we have laws. Our contemporary societies are made by laws, are made by rules. In our native communities, we live by our affective relationships. We are like a family, so it's two different base. They are very different universe, and for me, and I start to make art using the knowledges of this kind of popular and very simple kind of person, the bricklayer, and at the same time, a kind of knowledge that is too far from the academy. I'm not against the academy. I want to be clear. I just think that we can find another very other kind of point of views to make arts. We don't need to be how can I say, to be focused in only one kind of point of views. So I start to make art using the materials. I chose to start to make contemporary art using materials and the gestures and the process of a bricklayer. Many people and of the universe of arts, they asked me that I am using the knowledge of the architecture, and I say no, because we can find a lot of architectures working as an artist also, but it's very hard to find a bricklayer that is working as an artist. And I always say no. I remember when I was working with my grandfather, and many architects came to him because they have doubts, and the knowledge of the academy that they use, they didn't they couldn't to find some solutions for some situations. And my grandfather, with a simple line, provide solutions with simple materials, and with his empirical vision of the construction. He provides solutions for people who cross the academy and studied for a long time. And also happened in the indigenous community. Many of the people who lives in the indigenous community, they don't study. There are a few people that have the opportunity to study in university. So we need to find solutions by ourselves for our lives. So I try. I don't know if I have success, but I try to walk from this point of view out of the academy and walking to the academy knowledges, to the knowledges led by our modern arts and other contemporary arts. So it's another way and another point of view. I am trying to provide this other vision, and I always say that it's not that one is better than the other, but it's only only what I chose to make my art. Also because in our language, indigenous language, we don't have a word to translate art, the word art. Art is in everything that we do in our lives. We think, we make different kinds of art, and we don't have a word for this. So I try to make my art more intuitive, in an intuitive way, and consider other elements that the academy try to refuse, like the spiritual things. The modern art and the contemporary art was built by the most of the base in the Illuminism and other kind of knowledges, philosophy way to think, that the spiritual things is not important for the humanity. And how can I say that I am contemporary art if the spiritual thing is too important for me? So I start to think if I am really a contemporary artist, or if I am another thing, or if this kind of a title really matter for me, or so. I have a lot of doubts. And everybody are too sure about many things today, and I think I prefer to keep some windows open. Just this.
No, thank you, Andrey. It's fantastic. And we will start to see your work, but in your body of work, you highlight the indigenous identity, the body language, in dialogue with the environment. And from your beginning, you were interested in the intersection of rituals, materials, and cultural space, right? Tell us about your inspiration and question, and a little more about your philosophical approach that you develop in all of your pieces.
Okay. So, for example, I try to start the last works talk about a way that I started to review the modern arts in Brazil and the contemporary arts ways, how our modernism was built using indigenous elements. A lot of indigenous elements is the base of our modern art, but in this process, all of the arts, the curators, and the institutions let the indigenous out of this place. So they always use, like Tarsila do Amaral. Tarsila do Amaral, the most famous painting is Abapuru. That's today is this painting is in a museum in Argentina, Malba. Okay, Malba. And Abapuru, it's that means man that eat man. It's a cannibalism. So, but most of the people think that cannibalism is only to eat another person because they are hungry. But in my community, Dofurêm Guaianá, we made the Abapuru ritual, and when we had wars against other community, when we win the war, we got the stronger warrior of other community and eat his body, everybody, and also the children, because we believed that we could to get the strong spirit of this warrior, and it was a way to honor this warrior. It's not only for because we were hungry. And Tarsila used this element of our culture to build the anthropophagic movement together to Oswald de Andrade, a very famous writer in Brazil. They were, he was her boyfriend. And I started to make works, making a review of these histories, and to put our point of view on their works, to talk in our, for example, I bought a drone made by Tarsila do Amaral, and we made in our community an anthropophagic ritual, eating her work as a way to get back the force of our spirit to our community that she stole to us from us. So, but it's not a performance. I say that it's not a performance. It was our artistic ritual, because performance is to remind me sports performance or something like this. And how we use as a spiritual, in a spiritual way, also in a spiritual way, I prefer to call this action as a ritual action, not performance.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what interests me now, is to use art to put our point of view of everything that the Juruas is in our languages, who is not indigenous, what they made using our culture. Here in the photo is our community in São Paulo city. You can to see that we have a little place in São Paulo, that we have a green space where we have 7 tribes with almost 4,000 people living there. This is a Guarani community. Guaianá, we live in another place, in another border of São Paulo. All of the indigenous community live in the border of the city. And another community we call Ainvete Vaikeye. In the translation is cemetery, because there are a lot of our people in the below the concrete, the cement of the São Paulo city.
Thank you, Andrey. And you are a creator, a teacher, and a social activist that work in the relationship of different contracts that you explain with the Avaporu series. And now I would like to talk about Foundation from 2023, a Brazilian popular concrete house built under of indigenous ceramic. And we can see this, but it's the next slide that I would like to put the focus to continue to talk about the tensions of concept that you physically explain in this kind of installation, and also as a new reading of the physical space. Could you explain us a little more about that?
Yeah, this is a new installation that I made in the Museu Afro Brasil in São Paulo, in my solo show Alicerce Foundation. And I made this installation I bought a house, a concrete house. I didn't make this house. I bought this house that you could find in Brazil. If you don't have too much money, you can to buy a house like this. This material. And the concrete is also one of the most important elements of Brazilian modernist movement, because Oscar Niemeyer, the most famous Brazilian architect, he used a lot the concrete to provide to give to Brazil a modern way to construct buildings and houses. So I made this house, I built this installation, put the house supported by indigenous vases, ceramic vase, that I made the vases together to my community. And the house is supported by the vases. So the foundation of this house is our vase, and each ceramic you can to see a graphic that means something about our culture, about the kind of people that we have in our community. And also that means that each vase is a symbol of the bodies of our community people. So this is what it's interesting, because the boss of our tribe that we call Kenke, it's like it's a translation of a boss. He started to cry when he saw this work, because he say that it's this work talk too much about everything that our nation lived in São Paulo in the colonization process. Not only the old colonization, but what we live till today in São Paulo. When only in the last year, the institutions, not only government institutions, but also artist institutions, start to see our community in São Paulo. Many people talk about Amazonia and the indigenous group from Amazonia that I know that they need to have their space. But in São Paulo, many events, the institutions make a lot of events, and they never invited us to be part of this event. And for example, the last Biennale, they invited indigenous artists from many different kinds of Brazil. The Biennale build is under one of the most important ancestral places for my community. It's an ancestral territory for us. And they didn't invite our boss to make a ritual to receive the other indigenous people. We say in our culture that if I go to your house, I don't sing before you sing. And if you come to my house, we always will sing first. You sing after us. So it's a way to have a respect in our relationship. We are not saying that you cannot to sing in our territory, but you need to respect another order. And the institutions make a lot of things about indigenous issues, but they forget many times to invite us to be part of them. So this work talk also about a contemporary way to make colonialism process.
And Andrey, how do you develop this process where you condense the ancestral memories and the ancestral territory, especially in the city of San Pablo? Are you working alone to creating this kind of installation?
I have the ideas. I am the responsible in my community. I am the leader to preserve our art. So I have this responsibility. When I have an idea, every time I start a process to involve my community in the construction process of each work. There are some works that I made, it depends of the idea, because there are many things that I want to talk about, and I feel that I needed to talk by myself. And there are many other things that I am sure that I have to talk together to my community. So to make this the vase, these ceramics, I made together to my community. And the house also, I use people from my community to make the installation, to put the pieces of the house together to build the house. There are many works that I made the works together to my community till the beginning. So it's depending of each work. And I hope that I answer your question. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, it wasn't.
No, fantastic, and Andrey. And the next piece is a popular house from 2017, totally different to the first house that you present, and where you are using the gallery as a site construction, and you use bricklayer materials. Tell us about your idea behind this installation and the message that you are trying to share with all of us.
Yes, I like to think in art as a process of the life, not only in objects of an idea. So when I was invited to be part of this gallery, when they invited to represent my work, they invited to make this first solo show, and I told to them, if we see this space as a site construction and not only a place to put objects in the walls or in this space. So also this installation and other works, all of the other works was made in this space, in this process. So I have other works that they are not in these pictures, but I made this work using the gesture of the bricklayer and the same materials that I used to make this installation. So I think we had 4 works in this solo show together to this installation, and all of the works was made inside this place. There are a philosopher, Claude Lévi-Strauss. I believe he's French. He was French. When he arrived in Brazil, he saw the cities, and he told that in Brazil, everything seems to be construction, at the same time that everything seems to be ruins. Mm. So I made these walls in a way that seems to be at the same time as a construction, a walls in a construction moment, in a construction process, and at the same time it's a ruin. So how to work both feelings in the same work, how to work to make this contrast in only one object. And I like also to think on this, to use one only work to try to promote different sensation feelings, different feelings in the same time to the people, to the audience. As the same happened with the foundation installation, because it's a heavy house supported by ceramic vase. So many people ask me how it works because it's too heavy. And I like when I see people having this feeling that there is nothing in our life that is too strong every time, forever. Nothing in our life is too strong every time, neither us. So I like to make my work thinking in different feelings.
Yeah, and Andrey, you are talking about colonization process, mestization, and we would like to know your experience doing Ore Retama from 2020. Could you tell us about your methodology that you are using to do this large oil of canvas and your experience about this particular creation?
So this work I made using as a support cement sacks of different kind of companies, and I fixed one in another. There are a lot of different kinds of cement sacks here, and I start to paint and use mixing between acrylic and genipapo. Genipapo is a fruit that we use in our community to paint our bodies. This fruit has a black juice that you use as a painting to paint our bodies, and we use this kind of painting to make our rituals or our parties or to go to fight. So I don't say that it's a painting on paper. I prefer to say that it is a ritual on paper, the cement sacks. So it's a work that I try to, at the same time, to find an equalization between both universe, because I cannot to say that I can to use only indigenous knowledges and element of the universe, of the indigenous universe, because I lived all of my life in a city and I always work as a bricklayer. So I have every time try to find this equalization inside my mind and in my spirit and in my day by day. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, I put the contrast between the drawing of each, the publicitaries drawings of each cement sacks together to an indigenous graphic. So I put the contrast, these different cultures, both are graphics, but with different objectives. One to sell things, other as a spiritual ritual. So at the same time that I put both the different of both universe in contrast, I am telling that I am trying to find a way to find the equalization between both universe inside me. And another thing that I like to make when I make some works to walls like this one is to put the work together to the ground, starting in the ground, because it provided to the audience the same territory, both between the work and the audience. The work is not something most special than the audience. I like to put in the same ground. It's like I am talking to the audience eye by eye, looking to their eyes, and they can to look to my eyes through this work. So you can to see this, the ceramic in this work is a little piece of bricks, and I use as another element here, materials used by the bricklayer. And it reproduces some elements that you use in our bodies, the art element that we use in our day by day in the communities.
Mm-hmm. Well, Andrew, I think your work is so powerful because at the same time you are paying tribute to the indigenous community, but also you are visualizing the real power of the indigenous community now, right? And to explore the different universe that you are talking about, I think that part of your work is complete in dialogue with the public, right? Tell us about the connection with your audiences in different cultures, in different countries. And if you like, we can put the focus in Guayapai from 2022, where the installation is formed by a set of indigenous ceramic bases, right? A screw in the middle of iron bars.
Yeah. Something important that I have to say also here. For example, I usually make the same in the city what I need to make in the forest where we have a tribe. Because in the tribe, in the forest, we make our art with what the nature provides us. So the cement, the seeds that we can't find in the ground, in the forest, we make our art, indigenous art. And I like to see São Paulo as a big big forest of a cement forest, and I use what this forest provide to me. So the process, the idea of the process is the same in the city or in the indigenous community in the forest. And the same happens with this work where I use the iron bars that the bricklayers use to make house here, buildings. And I made this structure, this kind of.
You are mute.
It's this kind of geometric structure, and I put the vase, and there are nothing fixing the vase against the iron bar. It's only the dynamic between the forces when I put the vase and the iron need to fix at the same time. At the same time that the iron put its force against the vase put its force against the iron bar. So it's an intersection between different energies. The energy of the iron bar make a pressure. I remember the word, sorry. Make a pressure against the ceramic at the same time that the ceramic body make a pressure against the iron bar. So many people, when they saw, I like to ask the people what are they looking, and many people say, the iron bar is making a force against the vase and supporting the vase. But it's interesting that I don't remember to listen somebody say the opposite, that at the same time the ceramics are making force against the iron bars. So it's a game of forces happen in this work. Game of forces. This is the sentence that I was trying to remember. It's a game of force, and I made this picture 2 years ago, and this work is also still in an art institution in Rio de Janeiro. And some of these ceramics came down to the ground because across the days, they start to make a force against the iron, and then make the force of the iron become to be fragile against the ceramic. So this is why I don't like to say that's only a sculpture or an installation, because it depends of other forces in the day by day. They have a relationship with other forces and other energies in the day by day.
Fantastic.
And Guayapim in indigenous words means down. When something fall.
No, they are amazing. Thank you, Andrey. This is fantastic. You are a real inspiration. And now we would like to open the Q&A session with our audience and with Daniel Martinez Puentes, the curatorial assistant. Are you ready for some questions, for more questions?
If the audience has any questions, we can take any as well. I have a question actually for you, Andrey. When talking about the popular house, you mentioned nothing strong can remain or stay. Would you say that your work is also a commentary on the passage of time as well?
Yes, also our culture, native culture, is not the same that it was before the colonization process. Nothing keep in the same state for every time. So I like to, I don't know if I am answering the question.
Oh, no, I think you are, yes.
So also many of my works I need to destroy in the end of the exhibition. So I like to work in this relationship, this kind of way, that I can to think in the artwork not only an object that need to be forever.
Mm-hmm.
The idea could to keep in the mind of the people. I think that it's many times most important for me, because for example, I am talking about territories. When I put a work in a art place, I'm talking that this art place. It's an indigenous territory in this time, but this exhibition will be for only a few days, few months. But at the same time, when one person of the audience has a relationship, start a relationship with my work, not only in the exhibition now here, you are providing me a place in your mind to become a little place of indigenous territory of my community. So it's we are changing. We are, how can I say? For me, the most important in this situation is that the message, most important than the physical structure of the work. I don't know if this is what.
Well, no, this is amazing. Thank you. We do have a question from the audience, from an anonymous attendee. They ask, how do you navigate being an indigenous Brazilian living in an age of colonization and modernity?
I usually say that we are, it's interesting because the last time I went to Miami, I was talking to Carol Damian, a very sweet woman and a great curator that live in Miami. And when we was have a talk, I told to her that we need to fight every time. But sometimes I feel a little tired because I don't want to fight anytime, but it's necessary. If you open the official website of the government in Brazil, you can't find that my community is extinct. We don't exist for the government as an indigenous community because we live in São Paulo. And I am talking about Dofurêm, Guaianá. And Dofurêm, Guaianá, today, we don't have a community that everybody lives together, like the indigenous community in the forest. And every time I need to fight against for example, I made a work when I start to use indigenous elements in my art. I thought I will start to fight against people who has a more conservative mind way to think the life. And for my surprise, because I start to receive a lot of sentence of racism that came from people who work with art, curators, directors of museums. I was invited to help a curator here in São Paulo. And he told me, Andrey, I'm not indigenous. I would like to have your help because I don't want to make something that could to let somebody angry against me. So if you would please to see my text, what I wrote a text for this exhibition. We have this project. I want your work together. And I helped him with everything. And then the week that we had to start to make the exhibition, he told me that I was out of the project because I am not too indigenous as he wants to. So who defines who is indigenous is a person who is not indigenous. I received of a professor of a university. He asked me if I am 100% indigenous. I answered that I don't know. Maybe my arms is not too indigenous than my head. I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question. And many people ask. I'm talking about artists, people who every day came to social medias talking that they are defend us. They are fighting together to us. There are many artists that don't like to work to me because I'm a Christian. And they say, how could you be indigenous and Christian at the same time? I answer for my community, Guarani, for my leaders in Guarani community, and for my leaders in Dofurêm Guaianá community, it's not a problem. We have a respect because we learn to live with each other in a respect way to have a relationship. So I have many other kind of sentence that I receive month by month inside the circuit of visual arts. So it starts to let me thinking if and it make me find many colonialism force inside in place where I think not only me but other indigenous arts should find a place to fight together with more conscience, because that I'm talking about people who are studying about social knowledge, social issues every day. So I think the fight is something natural in our lives. But many times I tell that it's a little, I need some time to have a rest, to breathe also. And when I think I will have some time to breathe, we have another fight again. And I learned how to fight in my life because I came from a very poor family. I needed to work with my grandfather when I was 10 years old. So my affective memories about work, hard work is together, it works together with affective moments in when I was young. And at the same time, I work together, I work in social projects. I was in the Syrian war 5 years ago. And the people asked me why I went to the war, why I decided to work, because it's natural that the people for the people that to protect themselves, they want to be far from the conflict. But the world, if you see the world, every time we have conflicts everywhere. Now in Los Angeles, I saw a video other day that in Los Angeles that happens a lot of conflict, social conflict with many kind of people. So I decided in my life to go against with the conflict to understand about this world as how it world really is, not only with informations that I receive in the television and other what I listen from the other person. I like to see what happened in this world and to live. It's a way that I found to talk something in my work that's more real, about real life of the most of the people of this world. So this is, I hope to answer.
You did. Thank you. That was a really wonderful answer. Do we
If I
have
say
any?
something that you don't understand, because my fluent English is very good,
It's good.
you can to ask me again. I can to.
It's good, Andrey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions from the chat? Anyone in the audience would like to ask any questions?
Just to answer, I think it's good to answer. I think the problem to live with different cultures is more in the mind of other people than in my mind.
I am not seeing any more questions popping up.
Thank you, Daniel.
I think that was a wonderful place to end that also. I think that's a wonderful statement. I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. I know we're wrapping up on our time here. A big thank you to our live audience for joining us. Also to Chief Curator Gabriela Ortiaga, and of course to you, Andrey. Thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts with us. We have some applause from the chat going through as well. I can tell, even though it's just digital, I could tell a lot of people were hanging on to everything you were saying. I do want to mention that this episode will be is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in any of our past Zoom project episodes, I've dropped a link there below. You can check those out. And to be stay tuned with future episodes, just log on to @molaa.art for our Instagram. We'll be there. So once again, thank you, Andrey. Thank you, Gabriela. Thank you, Daniel. This has been a wonderful experience. We really look forward to hearing more about your projects in the future and seeing you here at MOLAA.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot. And if there is anybody with another questions, you can to send to me by Instagram. You can find me in the Instagram. I will be able to. It was a pleasure for me to talk to anybody.
Obrigado, Andrey. Obrigado.
De nada, Gabriela.